Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our 5th episode of Black Dance Stories. Here's why we are here. Our dance world was pummeled by COVID-19, and Black dance artists are finding ways to talk about life during this time. Our world was further turned upside down after horrible events ensued nationally and globally, bringing attention yet again to the need for the Black Lives Matter movement. Black dance artists have not been quiet since. Black dance artists have been doing the work. Black dance artists continue to make work. To stay involved, we hold these weekly impromptu discussions and tell stories. Black dance stories. This is one action, and we will stay involved. We are a community working together to support, uphold, highlight, and celebrate Black creatives. Tonight is the 5th of what we hope will be many stories told in the artists' own voices. So a big virtual hug and an even bigger welcome. Be sure to come back. Tonight, it's Kyle Marshall and Okwui Okpokwasili's turn. Sorry, Okwui. First, though, please meet our team, who I'm so happy and honored and will forever be grateful to. I'll go first. I am Charmaine Warren. I am Jamaican. I am the great-granddaughter of Ida Boyd and granddaughter of Solomon Golson and Ruby Chapman, and daughter of Theophilus Warren and my 94-year-old mother, Pearline Warren, who lives in Jamaica. I am a non-disabled Black woman. I live in Montclair, New Jersey, on the stolen land of the indigenous Lenape people. With my husband, photographer and graphic artist, Tony Turner, who created our logo. Our daughter, Ashe Turner, a Black ballerina with locks, is going into her junior year at Boston Conservatory. I have locks that are braided. I'm wearing colorful earrings and a Black tank top. Behind me are photos of our family, a large plant, a lamp, and African masks. I love dance, y'all. And I'm here because of my love for dance as a performer and because of all the gifts that I've received and will always share. I promise you that. I turn it over now to Kimani.
Hello, Charmaine. Thank you. It is an honor to be with you always, and Nick, and everybody. So I am Kimani Fallon. I am coming to you from the village of Harlem, also on stolen Lenape land. I am a Black woman, and I live with my 9-year-old son. Granddaughter I am of Lucille Madison, recently transitioned at 104. I teach because of her. Daughter of Ronald Augustus Fowlin, Jamaican warrior, and Anne Fowlin, Renaissance woman. I dance because of them. My son Tamayo keeps me present with the fascination of a blossoming young visual artist. So with that, I turn it over to the guru. Are we ready, Charmaine?
Yes.
We bow
down to Nick.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Hall. I am Haitian American. I was born in Brooklyn to Sheila and Curtins Hall. My family, including my sisters Isabella and Victoria, now live in Montclair, which is on stolen Lenape land. I'm currently in Boulder, Colorado, which is on the land of the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho people. I'm a recent graduate of the Fordham Ailey BFA program. I'm currently in a beige room wearing a white t-shirt and a white pearl necklace. I'm also the digital media manager of Black Dance Stories. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Kimani.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, so it takes a village, as you know, and our village exists a family behind the scenes. They are ferocious behind and in front. Cynthia Tate is our publicist. Gabe de Coladanu is our web designer. Tony Turner is our graphic designer. And new to the team, Omega Davis is our video animator. We are blessed and happy to have everybody here with us. So I'm going to give a reminder now that we have so many things that we want to share with you from now going forward. So please consider donating. Donating to Black Dance Stories, donating to Kyle Marshall, and donating to Okwui. They are awesome. We want to continue this work, right? So please, it will be in the chat. If you look, Nick will be putting it there so you can have an easy access way to donate if you can. So with that, I will come back to the wish list later on. I'm going to turn it back to Charmaine.
And I'm going to throw it back to Nick because Nick has one more thing, right?
Quick housekeeping thing. We just want everyone to say hello in the chat. A big part of Black Dance Stories is creating a community. So we want to see who's with us, and we also want to be with you guys as well. A second thing, grab a glass of wine, a cocktail, or anything you'd like, and drink along with us as we do this show. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Charmaine.
Cheers. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Okay, I took my first sip. Oh my gosh. Kimani and Nick are going to go away for a while, and we're going to open the floor to Kyle Marshall. Kyle Marshall. Come on in.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Please introduce yourself and talk about something.
Okay, here we go. My name is Kyle Marshall. I am presently in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is Stolen Lenape land. I am the son of Jamaican immigrants and the son of Jersey and Georgia. My mother is Debbie Judith Grant. She was born in Black River, Jamaica. Her grandparents are Joan Grant and Edward Grant, also from Jamaica. My grandfather is from St. Catherine, and my grandmother, I believe, was born in Kingston. On my father's side, my father is John Henry Marshall, and he is the son of Marjorie Marshall and Ellis Marshall, my two grandparents, who migrated from Lincoln, Georgia, just on the border of South Carolina and Georgia, up north to Plainfield, New Jersey in the 1950s, and raised 6 kids there. My father was the 5th of 6. I was born to them in Plainfield, New Jersey, in the same hospital that my father was born in.
Wow.
And I was born there 1990, you know. My mom has a story of me being born and her thinking about the Berlin Wall falling, which was a moment in time in that history. And just to give perspective of when that was, almost 30 years ago this September. My birth is coming up again, this return. What else about me? Yeah, I have two step parents, Howard D'Olivier Idesley Allen, who married my mother when I was in high school, and Jurgen Marshall, who married my father around that time as well. I have siblings, my brother Miles, who is 7 years younger than me. I have my sister Olivia, who is 14, about to start sophomore year of high school in Texas. My brother's also in Texas. My family moved to Texas when I went to college, so Texas has been a recurring place for me, Houston to be specific. A second kind of home in some ways. In other ways, not so. I'm from Jersey. There's no way around that. And I have my brother Julius and Ellis between my dad and my stepmom who live in South Orange. Julius is 11. He's about to start 6th grade soon, and Ellis is he's 6. He's in going to be in 2nd grade. My family is a family of well, I think before I get into that, I just want to say a little bit more too about where I am. I'm in Jersey City.
And cheers.
And cheers, yeah. Cheers to
Cheers.
everyone. Thank you for coming. This is, you know, I won't do any product placement. We're not, you know, they got to give money first. Yeah, so behind, I have crazy little twists that I have done myself. I'm wearing black circle glasses. I have a pale, white linen shirt on. I have a sign behind me talking about perspective, positive self-talk sayings, and a work of art by Missy Robinson just above me, who is one of my roommates and best friends. I live in a home full of artists. Kwame Winfield, who is right above me in my house, and Makeda Smith, and also Missy Robinson and Breer Bacon is often here. So I'm really grateful for the community around me, and I feel like, you know, as I sit here and as we talk about Black dance stories, we also talk about our influences in our communities. So I'm very grateful for the artists around me that continue to support me and the friends that continue to remind me who I am and where I am. I come from a family of immigrants. My mother and my stepfather are both Jamaican. My father's family migrated up to Jersey in the 50s. My stepmother is from Lithuania, which is a country in Eastern Europe near Russia and Estonia and Belarus. And you know, I feel like the immigrant story is a part of my story as someone who grew up with parents that were coming into this country, and maybe not coming into this country with well. And when we talk about race and culture and immigration, we talk about assimilation and coming into things. And I think also in that is a conversation about generations and how people acclimated, how people came into a culture, into a community. So I grew up not realizing it, but I grew up within a Jamaican household. And I think as someone who was growing up and maybe not having race be such a serious focus in my household, I didn't necessarily realize that I was being brought up and thought about and considered and within a specific culture. And that culture is something that I've been exploring in my own personal self as an adult more. But you don't always realize the culture of where you live in, you know. So I grew up in a Jamaican home, it felt like, and in my family, in my brothers, my little brothers, they speak Lithuanian. They speak another language. And so for me, there's often a feeling of things coming from far together. Feeling like I have two sets of parents, two communities far and together. And so I've always felt like I'm always kind of settled in that kind of place of distance and translation. What am I trying to say? This is so interesting to talk like this. I'm going to take a second. So I grew up in a family of runners. All my parents were runners, and I grew up on a track. My father was a track coach for Villanova University. I always grew up around sports and in my childhood, like adults, you know, like college kids, teenagers, and physical activity, and that was something that was deeply rooted in me. And so my first memories um, of dance, my first memories of movement are is me by myself dancing in my living room as a toddler. It's me dancing on a track because everyone else is working out and doing things, and you know, kids get to play by themselves. You know, um, I when I was little became obsessed with Michael Jackson and used to dance like him. And you know, I think about our influences in our stories, and um, Michael Jackson was it for me when I was a little kid. You know, I used to dress up, I used to dance, I used to put on shows for my family. I used to make them sit in the living room and watch me dance. And when I used to go to visit my family in Jamaica, you know, we would have parties or go to events. You know, I would, I guess I would dance and people would want to watch. And so when I think about dancing and dance history, um, you know, I think about not just training, which I think, you know, I'll talk more into, but I also think about gifts and things that we're given, and ways that we don't even realize the uniqueness or the specialness. And I think as I started to navigate dance and working and doing things professionally and like narrowing on that kind of focusing, that you know, we can forget the reminders of why we dance and why we do things, and it's just to celebrate. It's just to celebrate self and to move and to express. And so, you know, I being home in COVID has really helped me settle back into that memory of dancing at home, of dancing for self, um, dancing without expectation, um, dancing for what feels good. And I feel like as things become more professional, like we think other things become prioritized. So, you know, little kid dancing in my living room, my parents see this and they're like, oh, you know, maybe you should take some classes. So I started taking classes really young. I was 5. Um, 5, taking ballet, tap, and jazz in Pennsylvania, mostly white studios. And my dance training was in mostly white spaces. And you know, being black, being male, and learning dance at a young age, there's so many things that come up that you become so aware of as a young boy dancing. You know. Bullying, questioning, you know, these kind of things, outside influences, questioning what you're doing, you know, and judgment from younger kids, you know, judgment, you know, from, and I think that, you know, it's hard out there for kids, little kids, you know, they want to gravitate and see things and want to reach for things. And so, you know, I think about my young dance training, and I think about, being in studios, and I think about loving tap dance and not really knowing why, and like and feeling weird about ballet even though I'm told it's supposed to be the most ideal form and like everyone's supposed to be doing it, you know. And so it's like, you know, how does race trickle into training? How does race trickle into uh, how we feel inspired by dancing? And so, you know, these thoughts weren't so heavy back then. They were just dancing, you know, classes. And these things shifted. And, you know, as a young kid, I did liturgical dance in church. I have memories of performing a solo in front of my church, and performing in group pieces with my church and for Easter and miming. And that was so, it felt so foreign to me at the time to combine spirituality and dancing, because for me dancing was like ballet, tap, jazz, and like my own stuff that I like to do, like improvising in my room. But then to bring it into church was a confusing place for me as a young kid because, um, I think I had questions about my own comfortability within Blackness. I think I had my own questions around queerness in church, even as a young age, not really understanding what's going on, feeling celebrated for dancing, but also questioned. And I think there was all of these layers of things that I didn't know how to understand. I didn't really understand being younger that made me not really fully appreciate the spirit of what comes out of religion and church and dancing. And I've danced in churches since being younger, professionally. St. Mark's is a church, Judson's a church, and church and dance have always been connected and tied, and dancing and Black church has always been connected. I have memories of my grandmother shouting and moving her feet. And this is a woman that did not move much, but she did in that moment. And I think about what the things we tap into without realizing it, or the things that we're tapping into when we talk about memory of culture, when we talk about intergenerational trauma, but also intergenerational tradition. I think about how history connects each thing. There's different things in my family. When I was younger, my grandmother used to she used to collect a lot of things. My dad's mother from Georgia, grew up in the South, grew up as a farmer, family of, I think 9. And I think my grandfather was family of 12, big families, working families, farm families, 8th grade education. And I have a memory of them telling me a story of them working in the fields and then hearing music. And that was such a big deal. They're like, where's this music coming from? They stopped working and followed it. And, this is 1930s, 1940s. And so they're hearing music in a field. There's no electricity. This is an amazing thing. It's a phonograph, or it's like a radio or something. And so there's that's a story, that my grandparents told me. And it's not that long ago. And so when I think about my grandparents and collecting things in their homes, always collecting things, never wanting to let things go. Some people would call it hoarding, but it's also maybe keeping resources. And if you ever came to my grandmother's home or ever came to their house, you always left with things. You always left with a coat. You always left with a pot or food or, bread, and I think about Black traditions and Black history. And I think about, especially in this moment of struggle with COVID and Black lives, how community is so important. And community is like the direct people that are around you. And how can you help the direct people around you, and make sure that the people around you are okay? Because if everyone was thinking about also the people around them, I think this country would be a little bit different. I'm not going to get into that. So I'm going to take a second. Maybe you also take a second. So my family are runners. They're a family of runners, a family of doers, family of runners. And if anyone knows track and field, it is it's a cutthroat field. It is outdoors and quiet and takes all day at track meet. And then a gun goes off and people run for 10 seconds and then they stop and then you look at the times. And it's such a gentle black and white clarity. You did 100th better than yesterday, 100th of a second better than yesterday. Your personal best is this time. You haven't done it since last year. It was windy, so that's why I was, off on this leg. And like all of these little things go down to hundredths of seconds, tenths of seconds. And that kind of clarity was always too much for me as a kid. So I never liked running. I just didn't like the idea of trying my hardest um, and just seeing failure, just seeing failure and still having to run. It was just too hard for me as a kid. Um, but that kind of cutthroat thinking, that kind of discipline is something that I think is deeply rooted in me, deeply rooted in how I work. Um, and it's something that I've definitely battled and had to confront when I think about ambition, when I think about goals, when I think about creating, when I think about creating like mathematical, numerical relevance to this field in dancing. Um, you know, I did a lot of theater in high school in marching band, mostly theater, mostly marching band and ballet. I had a lot of time where I did tap when I was little. I'm just bouncing all over the place, so this is just going to be what it is. But I did a lot of tap when I was little. I really did a lot of tap and improvisation. I remember improvising the tap and also craft work, like techno. I don't know what was going on with me at the time, but there was definitely a lot of like interesting clashes of aesthetics. So yeah, tap dance and techno were definitely the things I was into. And then that led to musical theater. And I quickly fell out of love with those old school, mostly white musicals. You know, all of the old ones I just couldn't connect to. And I really, as my journey in musical theater progressed, I became more interested in more complicated figures and characters and narratives and music. Stephen Sondheim was like one figure that like really touched me. This the complicatedness of lyricism and the I don't know. I guess at the time, experimentation. I don't have a musical theater background too much, but you know, as a kid, like listening to Company or Into the Woods was like, oh my gosh, musicals can sound different. You know, at the time it was like a radical thing. So, you know, I started to become more interested in stranger ideas, odder concepts, and that started to make me become more aware of modern dance, abstraction. Um, I didn't know about like modern dance figures at the time, besides like Ailey. Um, um, you know, but I was in high school and starting to realize, well, I definitely don't think I'm a musical theater kind of person. I'm not very loud, and I didn't think I was a really great singer, and I definitely can't do a lot of these old school shows. So I think modern dance, something weird was interested in me. And I always wanted to direct and perform and choreograph. I was always putting on shows. I was always made my friends put on a show for a review when I was younger in high school. Um, so yeah, so then I went to college. I went to Rutgers. I went to Rutgers where I met Kimani actually, and you know I started school really young. I graduated high school year early, so I was 16, and that was a real big shock for me to adjust to. My parents moved to Texas. I went to college. I'm 16 in the dance program, so super serious. Didn't talk to anyone. So that was me for a while. And you know, focused, working, making choreography. I met Missy Robinson after watching a ballet class. She was a freshman, I was a sophomore, looking for a dancer for a trio I was making, and you know, Missy was the one. You know, she was the one. And I, you know, I'm so grateful that she said yes to that, and so grateful for her friendship. Um, and I think that, you know, as I began to work and as I began to work professionally, the focus of what I was doing, you know, shifted a bit. And I think as we try and navigate this thing as a profession, as we try and make this our living, for me, I worked with a lot of artists. I worked with a lot of different companies. And I took work because I wanted to make a living out of it. I didn't take work because I necessarily was, well, that's not true. There's a lot of people that really, really positively affected my working. Let me take a second, because I don't want this to be like, drilling down. It's complicated in this time of COVID and Black lives. And as we think about like past for me and this field and how hard it can be to work in this field and dance in this field and make a living and support yourself. And so, I'm really grateful for the people that have supported me and supported my work. Doug Elkins was one person that really deeply fed me at a time where I needed that. Doug Elkins, if people don't know, he's works with fusions of ideas, fusions of aesthetics, was in the House of Ninja, and introduced me to a lot of Black dancing forms that I didn't have exposure to: voguing, house dance. These are things that I knew existed, but I didn't know communities around them. I wasn't seeking them out at the time. I think about Kimani, I think about your class, I think about your introductions of things. I think about the high expectation that I just think is Blackness. I just think, they just want you to do good. So I just think that's there. And also introducing me to artists like Bill T. Jones and Ralph Lemon and B.B. Miller through your sharing, through your offerings, through your conversations, through your assignments. Yeah, I also danced with a ballet company. I'm not going to name names, but that was one of my first jobs out of school, like summertime, nothing to do. Got a phone call. Do you want to audition for this ballet company? I said yes, and I did it for a year. It's problematic. It's just problematic shit. It's just like first day. I don't want to get into it. First day, just working with subject matters that I'm like, this is wrong, this is appropriation. And so how do you, it was my birthday, I turned 21 on the first day of that job. What do you do on your first day of a dance job and you're doing a very racist ballet? I mean, I guess you retrospect, like you don't take the job. I guess in this time, like you wouldn't take the job, but at the time I didn't think I could say that, or I didn't think I could do that. I definitely didn't want to stay there. Oh, no. I couldn't stay there. And what are the sacrifices of dancing? What are the sacrifices that we do to do this thing? Who are the people that we're willing to work with because they have the money? Who are the people that we want to work with because we're inspired by them? And like, how can we focus on that a bit more, about finding spaces of inspiration? And you seek them out, you find them out. Dancing in New York, I danced with Tiffany Mills. It's a contact company. I learned a lot of contact improvisation. I worked with a male repertoire company where I learned a lot of different works from mostly New York choreographers, mostly white New York choreographers. But it was really cool to do a piece of text by Claire Porter or do a score by Heidi Latsky. I'm getting cut off, aren't I?
No,
Time.
just coming back in. I'm just coming back in to give you some love up. Did you want to say a little bit more where you are now in a quick thing?
Yeah. Where am I now?
In a quick thing, though.
In a quick thing. Well, yeah, in December, my company had a show at BAM, and it really was a big height, visibility and everything, and it wiped me out. So post this COVID time has really been, I've been grateful for this time of rest. I've been exploring different creative practices.
Yeah.
I've been slowing down a bit more, which I've been appreciating because this is the least I've danced since I've started.
I
So,
bet. Well, let's cheers to that. I'm
cheers.
going to do some shout out while Okwui comes back.
Yes,
Okwui
please.
comes in. Oh my gosh, people are here, Kyle. People are loving this.
Yeah.
Okwui Okpokwasili. Okay, shout out. Shout out. Shout
That is
out.
not that is not the native tongue of my family, but please continue.
Wait, say the native tongue of your family. And don't
Igbo.
make me
Igbo.
Igbo.
But I think Swahili is, I think, a root language within
Wasili.
Africa.
Oh,
But you said Swahili just now.
I did.
But you did a great job with my name. And
No, I
Kyle,
didn't.
I
Stop
wish
lying.
you would name names, Kyle.
Stop lying. Hold on.
You did a great name. I'm sorry. She did a
Okwui.
shout out.
You're gonna go to the back of the room, Okwui. Okay, shout out. Dave Alois Fearon, who will be on Black Dance Stories, is here.
She wants to send me to the back of the room. She wants to
I
send me
see
to the back of
somebody
the bus.
behind you.
What? Okay, I'm sorry. So
Not the
please,
back of the
shout
bus.
out.
Not the
Shout
back of the
out.
bus.
The back of the room. Okay, sorry.
We don't get me in
Shout out.
trouble like that.
Hello, the boss. No. Go.
Okay. Deva, Jamal Barnes. Solo Badoyo is here. Solo is here. Wait. Hold on. Maria Bauman Morales, who's going to be on Black Dance Stories, is here. Tracy Herrick, a fan from Jersey. Stacy Dinner. Woo! Wendy Perrin. Boo. Ava. Gabri, going to be on Black Dance Stories. Kate Mattingly, we love you. Ann Davidson. Whoop. Amy Casella. Joanna Ketsy's here. A.K. Jones and Carol Marie Webster. They're here. Okay, cheers, Okwui.
Cheers.
It's you and Kyle for a minute.
All right. Kyle, name names, babe.
Oh boy.
You know, this is the time of naming names. Or I just have a question for you. Why won't you name names? I find that interesting because you're a very elegant person. Umechi. Sorry, my daughter is in. Yes, I'm sweating.
It's no problem. That's a good question. Why I won't name names. I don't know. I think about history too much. I don't know. This is the conversation of how do you navigate this space? How do you navigate making work in this field? I'm thinking about that in this moment. I'm thinking about professional reputation. I'm thinking about the dance world is small and interconnected. It's so small, it's so tight. These are small communities, small conversations. And so saying one name, is that company in particular was Lustig Dance Theater. And that was in New Jersey. And that's hard for me. It's hard for me to say I'm gonna publicly declare out, and call out people like that. I think because it's more complicated than just one person.
Yeah.
And it's more complicated than that.
I mean, I totally respect that. I mean, because obviously the dance world and the performing world right now that in the live space is at risk and always is at risk. And so I kind of respect you in a way, considering in the larger cultural space, dance has always been kind of a stepchild, has always been struggling. So are you concerned about calling out this one company because you don't feel that it's necessarily going to make an impact or a major shift? And it also puts that company at risk when they are doing some things that are worthwhile. I mean, and I would say that yes, employing people, paying people to do their artwork is something that's really important too. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think also, things come into fruition. So, this company is acting in a way that's disrespectful. It's making work that's disrespectful. We also had 7 people in the audience. So
so there was a karmic, right?
Yeah, it's karmic. You're not making work that's supportive for communities you're around.
Right.
Making content that people aren't interested in. it's also, I think it can be the nature of things, especially as culture shifts, as we shift. So I also feel like it's not necessarily worth it.
Right. But I just wonder, do they even understand what they're doing? Sometimes I'm always,
I
do
mean,
you think that they?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so because there were several instances of racist interactions, of inappropriate work, of me recommending certain things for me about my career that they just thought were possible and not possible. So like there were many like things. That company doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
So, you know,
Right.
it is
Right.
what it is. But yeah, you know, I'm curious. In this nature of working, I work with a very intimate group with my collaborators. We're all very close friends, and I live with them. I'm curious about how, as you see, navigate life and working. I know you work with your husband, and I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's complicated.
Absolutely.
You know, because I'm like, is he my friend? Is he even? Sometimes, you know, you have to be like, are you even my friend? I'm having some issues. But no, you know, I think for us, the thing is we've been working together for a long time. We met in college. And
wow,
there is some kind of, we were in like a lot of classes together. We did projects together. We worked on, you know, I made a piece that he directed. I was in a piece he made. We worked with other people. So we were always, I feel like our relationship began kind of as a kind of in a collaborative space or workspace. And I have to say, I think that even myself as a child, I never imagined, you know, or as a woman, femme, you know, Black woman, I never imagined like, you know, a wedding, a husband and kids and all this stuff. I imagined a collaborator. I imagined a partner. I imagined somebody who could make things with me. And so I did kind of get what I wished. And I think for me, even when my husband and I don't agree or are in some kind of contention, I have such faith in his impulses and instincts, right? Even if I'm kind of like, I don't agree that this should happen within this context, or I don't feel that, like, I think that's an interesting choice, but I don't know that that's the only choice for this moment. Like, you know what I mean? We've had these conversations, but ultimately I also always trust and know that whatever he is offering is coming from some really deep instinct. So that's nice, even when we disagree. And I almost sometimes feel like our collaborative relationship and making work helps our personal relationship. You know, it's just like with your friends, you know, you have to be able to sort of say things that are uncomfortable, forgive each other for when, you know, the pressure is feeling really intense. And there aren't any satisfactory answers, and you say things you might regret. You know what I mean? So there's a sense of forgiveness, a sense of the critical part that person plays in your DNA in a way, you know, because we've grown up together.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, forgiveness is a big thing, you know, like this is an interesting thing. And then also stepping back, you know, and I say this, you know, I don't want to be prideful about this. But sometimes I feel like I can have an idea, and when I see it manifest, I'm like, that's not so great. So if you have something else, I'm like, I'll jettison that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just feel like, so not to be prideful, but there's something in me that doesn't mind editing, and that also can look at something that I thought of and be like, nah, that can go. That can go. You know, and so I feel like there's also that, you know, I think a lot of times when we're all making things and we have this thing in our minds, and sometimes like once it gets out of our minds and into the world, it's like, better in the mind. Go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, let's twist it a bit.
Yeah.
And I think, so I mean, when you're working with how long have you known them and how long have you been working with them? Did you all you went to Mason Gross, right? Is that right?
Mason Gross, yeah. And we all went to school there, but at different times. But Missy is my longest collaborator. I've known her since college. So I've been working with her since we were kids. So, it's been 12 years. We've been working together. And, I think that as we mature, we become a bit more aware of that collaboration, of the both feeding and helping ideas move forward, so that one idea is not flatly laying against itself. So I think that as I've gotten older, I've had a bit more time for reflection. I am so aware that these things have grown together. Our creative work, my choreography, Missy's visual work, and our collaborations within my own work have grown together. And so, I think fully acknowledging and celebrating that, I think is important. And I think that is separate from the work field, getting projects, getting opportunities. That celebration and continuing and supporting of work is separate from that push, that ambition, that, opportunity to get the things visible and seen and supported. So there's a lot that I've been navigating and thinking about as I think about moving forward. How do I continue to have ambition, which I do, but also be sensitive to how things are actually being manifested, and how can they be separated and put together a bit more. Something along those lines.
Are you asking about how to make sure that the work that she is offering and doing is visible as well, or is visible as something? Yeah, maybe that.
I mean, I wasn't thinking about that so directly, but I think that yes, I think as we think about choreography, we think about the gathering of people together. With my own work, I think of them as collaborators and performers. And so when we think about dance, it is not just one person making the thing. And so, yes, I think that in that conversation is how do I both celebrate the collaboration, but also celebrate the individual, Missy, and other people that I choose to interact with. And that's been a journey. It's been like work for me to kind of figure out. And
that speaks to your community. That speaks to what you're talking about, community, right?
Yeah.
Which I think you said you didn't want to go there, but I'm like, that's absolutely where we are.
Yeah.
It's absolutely where we must be. And where you are, it seems to me like in your process of making, you know what I mean? It is about.
Yeah.
Right.
And both of those things can be manifested. I've been thinking more about not just how do I create my own ideas, but what can I provide as someone who is having access to these platforms? What can my work provide for the people around me? What can my work provide for communities? I think about gifts, the gifts that we've been given, and how can we use what we've been given to manifest and support others? And so,
right.
Yeah.
Or the gifts they give us.
And vice versa.
I mean, to me, I'm like, half of the time, I'm just curious. I'm like, I don't know. I want to see if I pose this question, what y'all gonna do with it? And then they do stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like, that's a privilege. That's my privilege, right? To hopefully make a space and a platform where people will share their gifts with me. Right? It's just like
y'all are doing
sometimes
right now.
I just feel like, I'm like, wow, she's blowing my mind. She's blowing my mind. And wow, and whoa, you know what I mean? I'm like, look at these people. They all like right here in this room. And I'm witnessing it. And that's amazing.
And it's
you know what I mean? That's how I feel sometimes.
Wait. Guess what?
No.
Yes.
No. Yes. Okay, sorry.
If I could, I'm coming to your house, Okwui.
She won't find it.
Fred,
She won't find it.
Cheers.
Cheers, Kyle.
All right. See you in a minute, Kyle.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Such a pleasure. See you in a second.
See in a second, but I just want to.
Why are you messing with me, Charmaine?
Oh my
Why
God!
is Charmaine doing this to me? Do y'all see this? This is on YouTube forever.
Jody Melnick is here. Cynthia
Hi,
Oliver is
Jody.
here.
Hi, Cynthia.
Introduce yourself properly.
Oh. Why is she? You were not like this with other people. Why is she like this with me? All right. So my name is well, you know what I'm gonna do, right? I'm about to give you full on Igbo realness.
Of course you are.
My name is Okwui Okpokwasili, and I am currently in Brooklyn on the stolen land of the Lenape people. I was born and raised in the Bronx by Bertram Okpokwasili the second, and my mother Eunice Okpokwasili, proper English names, because Nigeria was colonized by the English, I believe beginning like officially maybe 1904, particularly the region. They come from the southeastern region of Nigeria, which was famously described by some of the Brits as ungovernable because of their feminine properties. Because the Igbo were a decentralized and very sort of democratic group. There were no kings and chiefs, but there were kinship groups. There were methods of coming together to allow everyone to speak, to resolve issues that were of concern in the community. So yes, famously ungovernable until the British destroyed a shrine at Arochukwu. I believe this was in 1902. I'm sorry, I should have gotten that date. I'm not remembering that. Anyway, so my dad was the only child of his father, Bertram Okpokwasili, and Mercy Okpokwasili, both of whom were nurses. Mercy, his mother, was also a midwife in the southeastern region of Nigeria, but they were raised in Ukpo, which is currently in Anambra State, in the southeast region. I cannot name all of his brothers and sisters because his father, though schooled through missionary schools and like in Western medicine, he married, I think, 5 wives. So he was living an old traditional Igbo fashion. But his wife, my father's mother, like I said, was also a nurse and a midwife, and gave birth to a number of people, including one of my uncles, helped to usher them into the world, excuse me. My mother's parents, and of course, my mother's parents, Nathaniel Okeke and Joy Okeke. Joy was amazing in the market. That was the terrain of many Igbo women. You know, even though the traditional structure of families was a polygynous structure, women were working in the markets. You know, they would have their own money, and they had, they were engaged in commerce, and they were in that way public facing. So apparently my maternal grandmother was a whiz at the market, did not speak much excessively, but she made her money. But my maternal grandfather, and he had lorries. He had a business of transporting trucks and goods, which was destroyed after the Biafran War, because the Biafran people were also in the southeast, and a lot of Nigerian, mostly Igbo people, but also there were some other ethnic groups involved in that. But the southeastern region was devastated and hasn't totally recovered since then. And the Biafran War ended in 1970, and I believe it started in 1968. And the Biafrans were considered rebels. And so the Nigerian government received a lot of support from their former colonial masters, the English, and there was a famous blockade that kept food from people in the region. And so there were famously pictures of starving Biafran children before there were these famous pictures of starving Ethiopian children who were suffering from a drought in the 80s. But my grandfathers never actually came to this country, and I only met them once each, because when we were born, when my siblings and I were born, my parents would take us back home to meet the family. My grandmothers, on the other hand, did come to this country a couple of times. My father's mother, Mercy, once, and my mother's mother came about 3 or 4 times, and she didn't speak much English, and I don't speak much Igbo. So it's interesting, the communication was complicated and wonderful. And I'm also a sibling, 2 older brothers, Bertram the third, my oldest brother. Then another brother, Nkemakonem. His name also means let what is mine not be taken from me. He was born in 1971. So right after the Biafran War ended, me, and then a sister below me, 7 years younger than I am. Her name was Ebele Chukwu. And her name means the gift of God or the God's mercy. So she is kind of my paternal grandmother's namesake. She was born in her 6th month and spent 77 days in an incubator. No one thought she would live. And my mother was with her every day, touching her, speaking to her. And it was the last time I prayed consistently. I prayed for each of those days because I had been harassing my mother and father for a sister for the longest time. And here she comes, and by God, she's gonna live, right? So she lives, she's amazing. Has 3 children of her own now. Also, she's a child psychiatrist and an opera singer because she can't stop working. And then my sister, so her name means, so that gift, that mercy also is also this connection between my paternal grandmother and her, both of whom were practitioners, healers, workers in healthcare. And yes, I think my dad sees his mother in her. And actually, I think one of my middle names is Adanya, which is the first girl of the family, right? My father's first girl is Adanya, but other people might be like I have a daughter, I'll introduce her to you. Adobe, she's the first daughter of the home. So in Igbo families, there's an Ada, and she's the first daughter. And that first daughter is responsible for a number of things, namely holding the family together, taking care of things. She's almost a surrogate mother. But in my family, I feel like it's my sister, Ebele, Mercy, the gift. I feel like she's the true Ada of the family. And then my youngest sister is Ijoma. This is a good journey, right? And she is actually about to have her first child in this COVID moment, but in October. And I'm looking forward to this. She's also a healer, and she does child development. So just loving women, powerful women who teach me every day. And my oldest brother is a lawyer. He's a defense lawyer living in New Jersey. And then my other brother is also a doctor, but he is in the army right now and stationed in South Korea. And he was giving us the lowdown in the beginning. He was like, first of all, y'all need to stop, sit down, turn off, close the door, stay home. He said, this is a marathon, not a sprint, mofos. And as you can see, we are failing. And then there's my incredible partner, husband in life, Peter Bourne, who is Lutheran, originally from Wisconsin, Minnesota, of Germanic heritage, the Deutschland. He has an incredible family. He has a brother who is amazing and a wonderful artist and ceramicist, and they also live in Fort Greene. And an incredible sister-in-law, his brother's wife is Celia Clark. She is the CEO of the Brooklyn Community Foundation, and they have been giving out loads and loads of money to grassroots organizations. Like, you know, they have been thinking about criminal justice and undoing systemic racism for a while, and now they're also working to protect the rights of immigrants. It's just, they're an amazing family, and they have 3 beautiful children. But then I also have, so Peter and I also have a daughter. Her name is Umechi, Eleanor Adobe born. So Umechi means breath of God. She was actually famously born with some, not famously, like she, to us, she was born with, when she was born, she still had some liquid in her lungs after I pushed her out. So she had something called tachypnea, right? So she was having problems breathing. She was still trying to expel the liquid from her lungs. And so she was in the NICU. She was a little bit early. It was a kind of irony, right? That we had named her Breath of God. And here she was in these first moments of her life, struggling for breath, as we all are, and, you know. But she is an inspiration, unruly when she wants to be, but you know, she's told me, I love helping you, Mom. I love, what can I, so, you know, she has that, she's 8 years old. So I feel very fortunate and grateful for this other part of my life and this other community that I have. And I will say, I guess, you know, it was interesting to me that Kyle was talking about, he wanted to go into community, but then stopped himself. And I also love that someone said, silence, it's okay. Like, let's be there. You know, he needed to take a moment. And I also love that. I was like, yes, take a moment. And I thought about some of the sort of affirmations he was getting in the chats. Oh, I was like, this is why I love the dance community, because I think that there is a rigor, a rigor of body, of intellect, of spirit that happens, and still this, but a generosity, right? I think it's hard to find that in other art fields, because the nature of making dance, right, requires you often to put your body in somebody's hands. And that is a grave responsibility. And to take on that responsibility with a kind of gratitude and grace, it's, to me, so emblematic of something at the core of so many of the dance folks that I know and the people that I know. So I feel like I'm always very concerned about labels. I'm always trying to skirt them. I just feel like, are they necessary and who for, right? You know, like Kyle, I also wanted to ask Kyle about his grandmother. What did it feel like to see his grandmother in church dancing, right? Because that's how I grew up. I grew up with a bunch of expat Nigerian folks, Jamaican folks, Barbados. I want to say Barbados. What is it? Barbudan folks.
Yeah.
Barbadian folks, African American folks, just like Jewish folk. I mean, just arguing and talking. And sometimes I couldn't always follow the conversation, particularly when it was like all the Igbo people. You know, they're always like going between Igbo and English. Especially in the early 70s, when they were trying to figure out, where do we make a home, right? There's all of this potential in Nigeria, post-colonialism. I think it was before the onset of multiple coups. You know, I believe there was this idea that, you know, we have this opportunity to go back. What does it mean, right? And so I was in those arguments, but then there was always dancing. There was always dancing, and you know, and it wasn't kind of like, it wasn't the hopped up stuff, but it was like It was all that hip
Hey.
stuff. It was just,
Hey.
you'd see people like, you know what I mean? And so, that was like, that was just the space I was in. You go to an event, even today, you go to a Nigerian wedding,
Come on.
they will have a program, and in the program will be like, so-and-so speaks, this person speaks, and then dance break. So-and-so speaks, this person speaks, dance, like literally, it's like, because in case you don't know, we will be stopping to dance.
Today. Let's
You may
bring
not
Kyle
know
in.
this.
Let's bring
Yes,
Kyle
I'm
in.
sorry.
So
Oh my
y'all
God. Yeah,
no,
come-
don't stop.
come, Kyle.
Because you said you wanted to ask him about, and then I guess we need
Kyle,
to talk
how
to
did that feel? How did it feel when you saw your grandma?
It was a shock. I mean, my grandfather was also preaching, which he is silent, like martial silence is generational. So just to see her just get up and pick up her skirt and just start to like, I don't even know what it was. I would have to remember more deeply, but she's slightly yelping. She's hunched over. It's about her in that moment. It was amazing to see, you know.
What did it look like, Kyle? What did it look like?
You get up and show us.
I'm trying to make me get up.
Hey, come on. Come on.
It was something.
Come
It
on,
was
Kyle.
something. It was something.
Go ahead, babe.
It was a skirt. It felt like something.
Hey,
Something like that. You know, something like that.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
really moving.
Like she was like the spirits are coming through
It was
the
real,
ground.
you know, you could feel it, and I think you know, that stuff runs deep. And I've been like really diving into my spiritual practice and like meditation practice, and wondering like what are these like spiritual traditions that are in me that I want to keep bringing forward. Yeah.
Guess what?
Yes.
What you just said, want to bring forward. Ava Yah said, comments and questions. Here we go, right? Ava said, I love how Caribbean
Ava.
black dance is. Ah! All right, here's a question from Wendy. How did Kyle get involved in Trisha Brown's work? Wendy Parent.
Yeah, well, when I first learned about Trisha, I was in college, and you know, someone said Trisha Brown. I thought she was Black originally, so then I did some research and realized I was wrong. And then, you know, seeing her work after school, seeing the performances at BAM, her choreography really touched me. I really didn't expect to audition for the company, let alone get in. I was quite shocked. But I was really happy to be joined by my friend Dare at the time. Together, yeah. And you know, it's been a real treat and journey to do that work, and often very difficult for many reasons. But you know, it's I've learned a lot from her choreography, and I feel really grateful to embody those ideas, like just for the experience of learning from, you know, in some way from her. So that's kind of how I got started with that.
Some of these comments and questions came from the beginning, so I'm going to try to go back and forth, but Okwui, jump in whenever. But
Okay.
Deva says Deva says the belonging, not belonging is real, Kyle. I hear you. Living in the in-between. Amen to that. Ashe, I should say. AK Jones, I see you in all of your complexities. That is what Blackness is. Navigating all, and I mean all of the identities with and around us. Yes. Maria Bowman Morales. Yes, dancing without expectation to me resonate as dancing outside of commodity. All right, Ava Ya Asantewa. Dance like nobody's watching or critiquing. Wendy Parent. Yeah, we have to stop saying that ballet is the most ideal form. Just saying, just saying. Oh, so here's a question from Maria Bauman Morales. How does race trickle into training? Ooh, a lot. That's a dissertation topic, right? And a long, I could just see her face too. And a long project of redoing and undoing and adding to. I think y'all should just jump in on that for a minute. How does race trickle into training? You go, Okwui. I'm
No,
not
Kyle,
a dancer, Okwui.
no. Kyle is the dancer.
Stop it.
Kyle. So no. I'm a mover, dude. This moving is in me. But I think I'm like the minuscule shit. You know what I mean? I spent some time at this place called the Body Weather Farm in Japan with Mintanaka, right? Thinking about like cultivating a psychic and interior space from which to build movement from, right? And so I'm in the room and the mirrors are darkened. I'm like, I don't want to see what the outer form is, or I don't want any of my collaborators to be concerned with that, especially as we're diving into a making space, but it is like, what Ava was saying and what Maria was saying, just to move as if nobody's watching, to move from a space that is not concerned with critique, but is concerned with speaking to a particular condition that you happen to psychically be in, right? Like, how do you move from that space? We will shape the outside later, but I don't care. I don't care. I mean, because I feel like I can see when people are really working from, if they take a prompt and they're really just working from some space that is a mystery to me because it's uniquely theirs. I can feel it radiate, and I won't even say truth, right? But I can feel it radiate a position and a complication, and I can feel the vibration, and that's all I want to see. And so, that for me, that's the beginning space. That's the everything space.
Thank you, Okwui. How about you, Kyle?
Yeah.
Dancer Okwui.
Yeah, I mean, I think in dance, training often comes into ideas of aesthetics too. What we value as right and wrong, or a way a body certain should be. I had a lot of issues with my feet in ballet, with my quad ballet, like not seeing that the strength, the muscularity of what my body is beautiful and powerful and like something. So that was things that I had to work and undo, finding the value of what this instrument is doing. And I think you're definitely right, Okwui, tapping into what is the internal manifestation of these ideas versus these external replication of processes that are 400 years old and made in courts in Europe. So I think that there's an awareness of when is something coming from the inside and when are things coming from the outside to manipulate the body. And I think being more aware of our influences, and as we think about choreography, how can we start to shape an internal space so that the body can manifest in a way that's unique to that person, this moment, and these ideas that we're trying to convey, and not trying to manifest based on execution, turnout, these kind of things that are externally creating ideas.
Right. But also, how do we privilege our own curiosity? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do we, figure out what is interest as a maker or as someone who has the platform for other people to make? If you're given that platform, like, why waste your time chasing these standards that you're not even sure that you buy into? Do you know what I mean? Absolutely. How do we cultivate an understanding and a connection to our own curiosity and our own questions, so that when so that maybe we can, shape that platform to ask people to work from their own questions and to just engage in that kind of conversation, and then your curiosity is constantly piqued. Like, what can happen? Like, it really feels like anything could happen. Do you know what I mean? And that's like, even speaking about it. Yeah. And I feel like in terms of rate, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that I think that curiosity of the internal is sitting back and listening to an internal creative process, as opposed to catering to this external expectation of what these artists are supposed to be doing. I think there's more of an internal drivenness that I think can come from a bit more reflection and a bit more honesty. from
and or time or
time. Yeah, we're talking
time.
about
You know what I
time.
mean? And I
Yeah.
feel like it's true that when people have a rehearsal space for a certain amount of time, and you have like a date where the premiere has to happen, or you have to do a residency and show something, I do feel like there's a kind of tyranny of time that makes it really difficult. But in my rehearsal process, I do often try to make space where I'm just like, here are some questions, here's some language. Now I'm going to give you like 30 minutes to be in a particular space and condition. And I'm also not going to sit and judge it, right? So you might stop having an idea. Like I almost want you to like, I love it when people are like, they're working, they come in with all their ideas. But after like 10 minutes, there are no more ideas that you made before. All of a sudden, the moment happens to you. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and I don't need to be like, I'm not necessarily interested in virtuosity. I don't need like you to hit shit. I just like need to know that you are absolutely in this moment. And in like, I almost like the question. I sometimes like to see people like kind of like, I've run out of ideas. What do I do now? I even think that kind of gestural body space is so interesting to me. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
All right. And then maybe something happens. And then it's like, wait a minute, why did that happen? And I doubt that. Like, I want to also make a space for people to be in conversation with their interior lives, like how to do that, you know? And as Black folks, to me, that's fucking freedom.
Yeah.
I want to make liberated spaces for the Black people that I work with, because that's the space I'm looking for. Like, I don't want to be somebody's ideal. I don't, and I don't want to be even someone's idea of Blackness, because it's so, look at this. It's like Caribbean.
Yes, that's
it's
right.
Like
Come on.
African American. It's like,
Come
you know what I
on.
mean? It's African. It's like South American. It's like European. It's so much. So I'm like, I refuse, the little box you want to make for my creative expression. And my God, if I have anything, I'm going to make sure I make space for other people to do that refusal too. Fuck that. Okay. You know what I mean?
A corny segue. No, don't be sorry. Stop.
I'm not sorry. I mean, it's just.
But somebody, AK Jones said, here's the place to get into it. We have been dealing with these racist spaces silently far too long. They need to change. Glad you have the voice now. Boom. So yeah.
True.
Nice.
Kyle, did you want to add more to that? And I'm going to look for more questions as I try to curate the questions.
I think that's absolutely true. I think, also going with Okwui, like how do we create spaces where we can actually support artists in these visions? How can we support, and that does mean, calling out institutions. That does mean changing other institutions. That means creating new institutions. That means diving deeper into our own personal practices and wondering why we're doing this thing to begin with. And I definitely think that it's time for shifting. It has been time for shifting. I'm here for it, I'm excited. Next. Yes.
Speaking of shifting, it's a big up from Wendy. The show at BAM was beautiful. I was so happy to discover Kyle as his own dance artist. Oh.
Thank you, Wendy.
So Maria Bauman Morales, who's gonna be on Black Dance Stories soon. What a powerful question, Okwui. Right. Relationship over product project. I don't know if either of you want to boom shaka on that.
Yes. I mean, relationship is everything, right? And this is why sometimes I feel like I can't call myself a dancer. Look at all these beautiful dancers. Like, they my friends. I know dancers. I do shows with dancers, but I love dancers. I love them. I revere them. And it's specifically because of their understanding of relation. And this is what we're losing and missing right now in this country. It's huge, right? Like, the community is refusing the truth about what sustains it, which is that the relationship we all have to each other. And I won't even call it sacrificing, right?
No.
Like we all put on masks, we stay in our homes because ultimately we know that it will benefit us. Do you know what I mean? And so to undo certain myths about American individualism, we know that that's a lie. I mean, because a lot of the United States was created on rape and slave labor, kidnapping, theft. So all of those resources, other folks were there to facilitate like the making of those resources. I mean, it's just in this moment, we so need an understanding of like how our lives are inextricably bound to the lives and well-being of others. And it is just a fucking nightmare, to every day. Like Herman Cain just fucking died.
That's crazy.
I was like, and I'm like, Donald Trump killed him. The Republican Party fucking killed him.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that. You guys fucking killed him.
Yeah.
This happened in, this rally happened in, what was it? June? And he got sick within 2 weeks of being there, wasn't wearing a mask. A lot of y'all motherfuckers weren't wearing a mask. Death. That's what it is. Death. Clear. You don't want to be connected. You think you're alone. You think you're not connected to a community. You know what the result of that is? The end result? Death.
That's clear.
Death.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that individual pursuit is something that can happen when you have a little bit of blind ambition, when you're in this hustle. I definitely was guilty of that. And so I think when we think about community, I really, it is, this COVID is a reminder of that, and I think that death is not just physical death. It can manifest in many different ways if we don't really psychic death, I think it's.
But I don't think ambition is a problem. John Lewis was very ambitious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it, or even when you said that thing about, doing, like working so hard, even in the face of failure. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
That's beautiful, right? Like,
it is, and it is this life.
Right. What do you mean by that? And when you say ambition, like what? Yeah, talk about what you mean, what you meant when you said that.
Ambition, it ties into with blind ambition. It's the thinking that the vision is more important than the people. Like you were saying, that the vision, the thing is more important than the relationships to manifest the thing. And I think when we think about power and economics and accessibility, I also think about how we can skew that, and we can forget that these are people and individuals and relationships that are manifesting ideas. And I think that this COVID time has really shown us the value of community, the values of these relationships, the values of a conversation with someone, and that can really help and support a day. And so, as I think about my own mental health, as I think about my own ways of navigating the ideas that I have that involve others, how can I work, but not work with a way that is aware of not just the material that's being made, but the relationships that are being fostered through these processes and collaborations. Right. So that it's not just about coming to the studio and leaving, but these are all manifestations and have ripples within our lives. And working in the studio creates memories and creates feelings and creates ideas that last a lifetime for individuals. And so how can we, as we gather and help create and make products, how can those experiences be equally as valuable, economically valuable, spiritually valuable, emotionally valuable for the people that are involved, not just audiences, but the bodies that are embodying.
Kyle?
Yes.
Wow. So listen, we're getting close to that.
Yeah. My internet connection is unstable.
Okay. All right. But we see you.
Continue,
we see
Charmaine.
you. We see you. I want to share. I'm gonna run out of time. Sky Olsen, just in support of what you all just said, This said, so amazing. Hi, Sky. So amazing to hear all of this wisdom about the body, its individual and generational histories, its knowledge, its
That's right.
processing,
That's
right? Its interior and exterior spaces, its roofs. Isn't that amazing? And I'm going to come back to another thing from Tony, but Yantande, who's going to, in a minute. But in relation to what Sky just said, Yantande says, what is the internal? What is the internal? That's a lot, right? That's loaded.
Yes. But I think that's what somebody else said. Is that what Maria said, or who said this earlier? Like, the internal is not some integral, inviolable space, right? We're porous, right? The internal is actually, when I think about the internal, I think about your position in relationship to, a number of a number of connections, conditions that are both inside and out. They're your responses to what is outside, right? But they're also responses maybe based on your memory and like how you would normally consider the.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not the internal. I don't think that people, like, we're porous, right? Like, this is why I feel like COVID is like some kind of, this COVID-19 is like some kind of like avenging God. It's like, y'all are not getting it. So I'm gonna make you get it, And it's like breath, this like contamination, right? The breath, like that we're starting to look at the fact that COVID might be transported through like aerosols. These are things that are like less than like, these are microns, less than 5 microns. I don't even know what size that is, right? But it's things that they, it's like when we speak, these little droplets, or sing or breathe, these tiny, they're not droplets, they're smaller than droplets, right? Hang and hover in the air and can go into people. Do you know what I mean? Like, we are,
It's
our skin, the biggest organ, full of pores, right? So any internal space is not, it's not a singular space. It's not only my own, right?
Interacting with.
However, yes, but however, is there a practice where I can kind of hover in that space to have some kind of connection, to sort of vibrate, tremble with the past, to tremble with everybody, I did this, Charmaine was a part of this. I co-curated for the first time an incredible dance space platform, and Ava, opened the ceremonies with song that David Thompson and I did with her, Ritual. And it was about like sharing voice, uttering together. But the lovely Kristen, right? And Kristen, but one of the writers of that, I mean, we had so many incredible people who are part of this, and I cannot name them. So go to Dance Space Project, because they have been doing incredible work with artists, and we're talking about like, skeleton architecture, also emerged from the I think it was was it the Will Rawls and Ishmael Houston Jones? Did it come out of that platform where we were thinking about and trying to remember and make space for those who we lost in the AIDS crisis? Like, what is it to reverberate even with that memory? I just think Dance Space has been doing an incredible job of holding memory, while also like not necessarily being stuck in a past, right? But understanding that the vibration of the past. Even Faulkner said this, right? The past is not dead. It's not even past. And so that's also, but Kristen Juarez, who's this incredible writer, started to talk about this thing called the Trembling Archive. And I just want to stay with that, right? Absolutely. The tremulous space, the tremor. Wow. And the idea of a vibration as the kind of, the beginning of mattering, right? The beginning of matter, like if it starts with a vibration. So none of this is like, they're not solid. Everything has holes. There are always ways that we are penetrating and coming into each other. So the internal space is a space to access all of those intersections.
Absolutely. I also feel like listening to that, like taking time to like actually listen to hear those interactions, because you're right. The breath of COVID affects each person. The vibration and your energy that you exput is going to affect your roommate or the people next to you. And I think, and even choreography is the same thing. We sweat and breathe and move with each other. These are vibrations, these are residuals. And so I think the more that we can tap in and listen to these things, I think the more sensitive and nuanced we can be, not just in our creative making, but I feel like in our lives, and at least in my journey too, we are all affecting each other in this thing.
Yes.
All of
And
us.
we don't have to, and it's like this, we don't have to leave. And it's like, you know, people are like, but what about my vision? What about what I want? What about what I want? And I'm just like, part of me is like, you don't even know that you could want something so much better than just what you want.
It's not just
You
about
sitting alone with your ideas. It's just like
Yeah.
also a very European patriarchal model. It's just like one head, one big white head through which all knowledge is disseminated, which is a lie.
Which is a lie. Wait,
It's a
look,
lie.
guess
Sorry.
what time it is?
what time is it?
It's 7:30.
Oh,
Is it?
sorry.
Okay,
Oh,
yes.
I'm not sorry.
Sorry, don't be sorry.
I'm not
Yantande
sorry.
says.
But I have to say
Yantande-
something. Igbo, in Igbo, you say indo, but sometimes, and that means sorry, but sometimes it's also like excuse me. So sorry. So I get confused.
Oh, no, you don't. Stop lying. Yantande says capitalist,
Why should you do this to me?
individualistic ambition. Wait. All right.
Yeah, capitalism is killing us. It is literally
Jay
killing us.
Bowie is here. Jay.
Hi,
was on
Jay.
Last week. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Renee Redding Jones. Wait, hold on. Before Renee, Jamie Wasserman said, Okwui for president.
Never.
Ah,
God, no.
go.
Never.
No. Renee Redding Jones. Oh, Renee, we love you, Renee. Renee says, you hit the nail on the head. Death is what happens when we believe in the illusion that we're all separate. Death of relationship, death of humanity. Oh, y'all, there's so many more questions that we can't get to. But, oh, wow. Come
Thank
back,
you.
Nick. Come back.
Everyone.
Kimani. Y'all, you know you make my heart so full for saying yes to do this.
Thank
Y'all,
you.
folks, you were just at a performance. You were just at an engagement. Drop a dime.
Please.
Oh, Wendy said, Kyle
Don't drop
for
a
co-president.
dime. Don't drop a dime for me. I'm okay. But you can think of me and drop a dime for a lot of folks who are making incredible work.
Yeah.
Drop a dime for them.
Yeah. Our
You know?
goal, y'all, our goal.
Or go
is
to the Poor People's Campaign too, and like check that out.
Our goal,
That's
though, is to
pretty
give
amazing.
our artists that are saying yes to come here and share stories,
Yes.
to give them the monies that you drop into the Venmo. So
I
that's our
respect
goal.
that. I
So-
respect that. Yes.
Thank you.
Then
for-
I'll move it on. But I'll move it.
Yes. Kimani, did you
Kyle.
wanna? Should I be quiet for a minute?
There's more to that.
No, we are going to ask everyone to come back next week because who's coming in? Charmaine?
Jan Thunder and Meredith Rainey. Oh my gosh, ballet for a change.
Here we go. See that.
Yes, and Yantande, we are going to let everybody know what the August lineup is. And again, I want to say you're here and you're sharing, and consider being at a show, you got a front row seat. So consider that. Consider sharing with us.
Yes,
And
we
love to Charmaine,
Yes.
Kimani,
Name.
and Nick. My goodness.
Nick, and
Sorry.
for putting this together. Y'all are doing such great work.
And I just want to thank Kyle and Okwui. I have a special place in my heart for my Kyle because it is with such pride to see you blossom the way you do. And Okwui, your work is amazing. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimani.
Yes.
Thank you, Kimani.
And thank you, Charmaine. And thank you, Nick.
Thank
Love.
Yes, love.
Love. Wait, one last cheers.
I can
One
never
last
do
cheers.
those things.
I know,
Yeah.
me either. I can't do that either.
I've been done drunken in my drinking.
Stop it! Oh!
Y'all are slow. This is a Negroni, by the way.
Love you,
Gin.
beautiful people.
Equal parts gin, equal parts Campari, and vermouth. So I will not be drinking
Wow.
anymore. Yeah, it was delicious, but I gotta be cool with it.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
You
Good
guys
night, beautiful people. See you next week. Same time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woohoo!
Okay, we're done.